All right. Well, good morning. Beautiful morning at that. Thanks for joining us to discuss a year-long investigation that culminated in an arrest, none of which would have been possible without some incredibly engaged and collaborative members of this community and some phenomenal police work. My name is Mike Benner. I'm the Public Information Manager for the Portland Police Bureau. I'll be sharing a few details about the case. Then we'll be hearing from Mayor Keith Wilson, Police Chief Bob Day, Multnomah County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez, Pastor J.W. Matt Hennessy. We'll be hearing from Alan Rudwick of the Elliott Neighborhood Association, and we believe a representative of Arkansas Montessori School will be joining us as well. We'll follow that up with some Q&A, and we have some of our investigators and detectives who are involved in the case here as well, and they can help answer some of the questions you might have. With that, I can share that in March of 2024, community members came forward to the Portland Police Bureau with allegations of criminal behavior associated with a market across the street from Dawson Park. As a result, PPB's North Precinct Neighborhood Response Team, in collaboration with our Human Trafficking Unit and our Narcotics and Organized Crime Unit, launched what turned out to be a year-long investigation into the Stop and Go Mini Mart located at 2858 North Williams Avenue. On Monday, March 3rd, 2025, a search warrant was executed at the convenience store. Detectives seized a significant amount of cocaine, fentanyl, heroin, numerous firearms, one that was stolen, and $6,600 in cash. In addition, detectives seized several digital scales covered in suspected drug residue and a box of razor blades believed to be used for cutting narcotics. Shortly before the execution of that search warrant, the Stop and Go owner, Donald Sharma, a 43-year-old man from Beaverton, was arrested during a traffic stop in the area of North Cook Street and North Gantenbein Avenue. Sharma was transported to the Multnomah County Detention Center and lodged on numerous drug charges. Detectives believe that the trafficking of drugs in and out of the store has been a contributing factor to the open-air drug market here at the park, as well as some of the gun violence in this area. Moreover, investigators are confident that this case will have a positive impact, a long-lasting impact on the Elliott neighborhood and this greater community. With that, I'd like to welcome Mayor Keith Wilson.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for coming here to really highlight this very important victory. And I really am impressed and proud to sit here with Chief Day and DA Vasquez. You bet. So this neighborhood, the Dawson Park, the Elliott neighborhood, holds an important place in my heart. My mother went to school at Boise Elliott. I was born a couple hundred yards from where we're at right now. I live in Northeast Portland. I ride by this park often. It was a few months ago that there was a naked person in the park, homeless, suffering from withdrawal. One of the afflictions of the neighborhood. I stopped, found that person's shelter, got him a ride, and I was incredibly proud yesterday with my council colleagues to announce that Portland Street Response now has the ability to shuttle, because Chief Day, in a story he said to me a few months ago, he was at a park and there was another naked man and he couldn't do anything for that person and spent 3 hours to provide care. Well, that was one pebble in a pond that creates these incredible ripples. And today, with this announcement, we just threw another pebble in the pond to create ripples around Portland. And every time we announce something that's changing this year, it's one more pebble that continues to just aggregate together to really change the direction our city is going. And so I barged in on this announcement, by the way. When I heard about it, I asked, can I participate? And they said, absolutely, Mr. Mayor. So I want to thank you all for coming, to the neighbors of Dawson and Elliott, and to all the neighbors throughout Portland. This is just one more pebble that we're throwing into the pond together to make those changes we want to see in our Portland. So thank you very much for joining us. And then I'm going to turn this over to Chief Day and really celebrate this important day. So thank you for coming as well. Chief.
Good morning. As I was reflecting on the events here that we were going to be recognizing today and thinking about the costs of crime. And I want to start with recognizing the humanity that As much as I support and believe in this work, there was a man's life who was changed this week by being taken into custody and entered into the criminal justice system, which can be a very unforgiving system. And I just want to recognize, regardless of the outcome, that that's a human being, that's a person who had made choices and intersected with us in this way. But I don't want to lose sight of that. I don't want to lose sight of the cost that if we lose this market, which I have no idea whether it will stay or not, that's a cost to the community. We need local markets in our community. We need to have corner stores. There's a cost involved in that. There's a cost financially to the Police Bureau. We've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on this case. There's a cost in the sense of a loss of safety that this park and this neighborhood has experienced for too long. And I was sort of lamenting and sharing this with my wife last night. She actually stopped me and she said, you know, the word I hear is investment. She says, I hear investment. And I began to think back over the last year and how we've stood in this park together. I see so many familiar faces. And she's right. This also is an example of investment. It's an investment by the community. It's an investment by the Police Bureau with the community. It's an investment in recognizing the longstanding history and challenges of policing in some of our more marginalized and struggling communities. And we know that this park is significant to the history of Albina, to the history of Portland, and to our black brothers and sisters in this city. And we know that sometimes the police haven't always shown up the way that we want them to. And we understand the complexity of that, but in the last year we've invested in conversations, myself, Pastor Hennessy, I see President Posey and others, about what that looks like so that we can continue to provide a just and fair and safe community for all. So it's an investment. It's an investment by the men and women of the Police Bureau, who I'm immensely proud of, who took on this challenge and have spent, as we just highlighted, almost a year working on it. We could do this press conference on a corner in just about every neighborhood in this city. I'm so proud of the work the Police Bureau is doing and the sacrifice that the men and women are making, not just on their own, but with the community, with our leaders, learning and addressing problems through a data-driven approach that's producing results, as we saw in this search warrant. And finally, it's an ongoing investment. This is by no means the end. This is no means, to me, a success or a stopping point. In a few short weeks, as we can even feel a little bit this morning, spring will be upon us. I worked in this district in the early 90s. I remember its vibrancy. I remember the opportunities that community had to come here and to really enjoy and be together. And I am confident and hopeful that that will be the case as the weather begins to turn. And that this is a small step in that, but you have my commitment that the Police Bureau will continue to invest not only in our enforcement efforts, but in our efforts around relationships, in our efforts around community, because it is making a difference. I echo the mayor's comments. Each one, each step, each time is another indication about Portland's renewal, Portland's renaissance that's happening, and not just downtown, but citywide. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. Congratulations to the men and women that have done the good work from the Police Bureau, and I want to turn it over to our partner and colleague, DA Nathan Vasquez.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to keep my comments very brief because I want the voices of Pastor Hennessy and our members of the Elliott neighborhood and Dawson Park. I want their voices to be heard. So I'll say this very briefly. I'm so proud of the work that Portland Police has done here, the work with our MAPS attorney, Alex Garcia, and the message that should be sent loud and clear is this. The DA's office is here to work with the community, to work with Portland Police, because we will not tolerate individuals dealing these poisons on our streets, here in front of our churches, with our playgrounds and our children so close by. It is absolutely unacceptable, and it's one in which this office will take a very firm stand on. When it comes to individuals that are suffering from substance abuse disorder, yes, we will work with them. We will do everything we can to get them to treatment, but we will not tolerate this type of behavior so close to our hospitals, churches, and children. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is J.W. Matt Hennessy. I am and the last name is Hennessee. I'm the pastor of the Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church, which is literally just a matter of steps from here. In addition to our church being here, we own property right here as well on Monroe Avenue. And so this matters to us, and I'm grateful that we're here. I just want us to remember, number one, this land belonged to others a long time ago. I want us to remember that. I want us to remember the mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers and others who also inhabited this place a long time ago. I want us to remember the people that for them, this is their Pioneer Square. They've been coming here for 40 or 50 years, and they want this place to be safe. Many times when you come here, you'll find people that are playing dominoes, cards, or anything like that, not trying to hurt anybody, just really here because they care about each other and have a good relationship with each other. They have the same concerns that you and I have about safety. They have the same concerns that you and I have about the importance of being able to have community. And I want to thank the mayor, I want to thank the police chief, the city council, all of the leaders that are instrumental in doing what needed to be done at this store on Monday of this week. I speak also for Legacy, who's done a great job being a good neighbor, and I'm glad to see them represented here today as well. When I say all of these things, we're reminded of the fact that community is all of us working together. But such things as drug dealing and guns being offered and all of the kinds of activities that were going on, none of us want that. And quite frankly, I'm grateful to the police for the fact, number one, that this was a year-long investigation. It didn't just happen overnight. Number two, I want to thank them for the importance of handling this situation in a very humane way. I say that not just as a pastor. I've been a pastor up here for 20 years, so I've been going up and down these streets for that long. I've lived in the area for 36 years. And what I know as a person who has also led police and fire in my own experience is that oftentimes, even when we're trying to do something right, the way it's handled is not. And I want to thank them for the humane way in which they dealt with this. I also want to let you know my heart goes out just like yours. Over the last, as a result of this and other things going on, 3 people have lost their lives this past week. And we care deeply about them and their families. And quite frankly, as we stand here, there have been people who have been killed right here in the park, right here around the park. And therefore, as we come today, this is another step towards making things safer for everybody. I think about our friends at Immaculate Heart right here across the street. They've had to deal with and make changes that are specifically made because of some of the activity. So my hope and prayer for all of us is that when we leave this place today, that we, the members of the staff and the administration of the preschool, and ourselves, every one of us, that we do our job to continue to make this place safe and a wonderful place to be. I almost brought my little dog Peppers because I walk Peppers here in the park almost every day. And I do that because I want to let people know that I too feel safe here, and go up to the people who are in the park, make them feel like they are loved and cared for, and that we care about them, and not give a negative narrative assuming that everybody's doing something wrong. So I'm just going to beg you to do that. We all need to keep working together. The last thing I'm going to say is that this was important in terms of what the police did, because literally last Friday, a number of us were standing with the Williams-Russell CDC as they were dedicating the ground that will be built with home ownership, with rental units, with business, and it's literally a stone's throw up the street. The fact of the matter is, We own this community. It belongs to the people, and we're going to keep on working together no matter what to make sure that we are safe and that we have a lovely place to be. With that, I just want to say thank you, and I also want to introduce Brother Alan Ludwig, who's part of the leadership of the Elliott neighborhood, and I want to recognize the president of the NAACP, James Posey, who I serve as the chair of the Political Action Committee. So thank you all very much. Alan.
Thanks, everyone. I'm not used to public speaking, but welcome to Elliott. I wish it was on better terms. This neighborhood has been disinvested in for generations, and it's starting to come back. One of the things that we'd like to make sure is that when this store, if it is reopened, that it has windows on both sides. There's a big problem with the way that that building is. I'd like to thank PMO and the police. There's a bunch of different groups that have been doing work to help make this place better. Pastor Matt mentioned a number of them. The Elliott Neighborhood Board has spent a lot of time trying to activate this park and make it feel a safer place. And I'm hoping that this is another step in that direction. But that store has been in the news on and off since the 1980s. There's something about the way that the urban design is on this corner. Maybe it's this empty field that Legacy owns over here. There's a number of little things like that, but this store needs to change. This can't be the main focus of our neighborhood association. We've got a square mile of area to be focused on. I'll leave it at that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm happy that we finally dealt with that store. That store has been a problem. It is a big win for this community. But I just want to share with you all, I'm concerned because we should have never been here. We've known that this store has been a problem. We should have taken care of this business before now. And it's not nice for us to be out here with a photo op and congratulating the police and everybody. But at the end of the day, this community is in danger. We have the highest unemployment rate. We have the highest incarceration rate. We've got to get somebody out here to help connect the dots. How do we change the demographics of this community so we won't get to this point? I ran a deli on the corner called Elliott EMAC Cafe. I could not stay in business. People of color, black people in this community have been devastated by COVID and everything else. We have to be more intentional about how we structure this community so everybody can benefit from the economic capacity of this town. So I'm suggesting to you all, everybody that's sitting here, hook up with Prosper Portland, hook up to the business community, come here and make this community representative of the rest of the community. Otherwise, we'll probably be back here again with another situation. We know the people who took that store over were the wrong kind of people for this community. They come from somewhere else, out of Detroit or wherever. People who live in this community need an opportunity to come in, do a store, be able to be prosperous. You all need to connect the dots. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Danielle Herman. I'm the head of school over at Arkansas Montessori, directly on the... Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Danielle Herman. I'm the head of school at Arkansas Montessori, just directly across the corner there. I think the perspective I have is probably a little bit more centralized to my direct community as opposed to more expansive to the other individuals here. And just in regards to the store closing and just the actions by the city and the police over the last couple of months, particularly since the large shooting that we had in the summer. From my side, it's been really great to see more of a community approach. We've had a lot of success with the city doing things that help solve the logistical problems. As the neighborhood association was saying, working on the building to have windows and kind of addressing things like litter and the bus stop and the police being really responsive to texts and phone calls and helping us figure out how to work our security systems and how we can all collaborate together to make it more of a community-focused effort and a community-focused response that actually gets things done. I'm really excited to see what that store can turn into if it is owned by somebody who's a little bit more neighborhood focused. The church is working on a community mural on the side of the school. And from my side, I am eager to see a more community-focused presentation of the neighborhood and a more positive presentation of the community as a whole, so that when we are here, it's because of big community events and successes and not because of gun violence. And I'm pleased to know that we're continuing to go in that direction with the collaboration from all of the parties that are here today.
I want to thank all the speakers. I also want to acknowledge the City Council President who is here. Thank you for your support. The President of Legacy Emmanuel here as well, but out of respect for everyone's time, not everyone could speak formally. With that, we'll open it up to some Q&A. If you can just state your name and who you're with and who you have the question for. We'll start with Joelle from Coin.
Yes, Joelle with Coin 6 News. My question is for Chief Day. My question is, do we have an update in that July 19th shooting, and do you believe this is at all connected to the case that you guys are talking about today?
Yeah, so spoke with the, there's a question about the follow-up on the shooting from last July that was one of the events that brought us here. And I echo President Posey's comments. It's not lost on me that the number of times that we've stood here, so thank you for your call to urgency and call to action in that regard. But as far as the shooting on the 19th, we spoke with detectives this morning. They're continuing to actively investigate. It is a complex case. As we know, we had a lot of rounds fired on that day. I believe we have multiple shooters involved. So for right now, I can tell you that, we are still actively working on it, but don't have a person in custody at this point. As regard to as it's related to the store or not, we haven't connected those dots at this point, so it'd be an error to suggest that. But I know that the team, Acting Detective McDonald, Sergeant Namba that are here, and others, we're doing this from a holistic standpoint, so if there are any connections, we'll definitely draw the line there.
Christine?
Also a question for Mike Benner. Christina with K2 News. I'm sorry for Chief Day, I apologize.
I'd like to have it for Mike Benner. We could make it for Mike Benner.
I wanted to know a little more of the timeline. So when did the store open and when did you guys start getting tips? Had you already been getting tips sooner? Is this an effort of community policing and building trust? Can you talk a little bit?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for the people who did the hard work on this to step up for a minute. So, Mr. McDonald, Officer McDonald, one of our acting detectives in the precinct who really leaned into this and took this on. He can give you a little bit of the timeline. And either Sergeant Nam or I can speak to a little bit to the community portion of it as well. But you want to walk them through just a little bit of the last year in just a few minutes?
Sure. So the community did let us know in no uncertain terms that the store was a problem and that it was something that had to be addressed through further investigation. And this is probably starting around this time last year, honestly. We started working through that process of getting into the store. As far as that's concerned, the timeline, as you're asking about, for a year, we had a few roadblocks. There was some stuff we obviously had to work through with, just getting there investigation-wise. But once it happened, it was pretty quick how it finally came together. And of course, if the community hadn't talked to us to begin with about any of this, we wouldn't have known what the problem was to begin with. We even wouldn't have known where to start at. So we appreciate that, everybody working with us. Of course, our folks in patrol, we always stand on their shoulders with everything that we do. And I think this also speaks to the efficacy of our neighborhood response teams, both at North, Central, and East. And of course, the expertise that our narcotics organized crime division gives us. Did you have a follow-up from that?
When did the store open? And you've only started getting tips last year, but could this been a problem prior to that?
I believe that the lease was taken over by this person back in 2020 or 2019, somewhere in there. And then, we started hearing about the problems probably late 2023. And then 2024, the things really started to build up steam as far as us making it a priority.
So maybe this is a question for the community members then, but why was this brought up now versus when it first started back in the early 2020s?
I think the nexus of drug dealing started to become fairly obvious. And of course, when you have a school right next door, when you have a church that's right there, and then a hospital that's behind me, that kind of led to it becoming a bigger and bigger priority for us.
Go ahead, Heather.
That's
Heather
good.
with KXL. Can you provide any more specifics as far as how the trafficking was happening? Were they selling it like from the counter if you asked for something specific, or did they have employees in the community selling, just picking up the resources here to actually sell the drugs?
I can't get into specifics on that.
John,
Thanks.
Yeah.
can you provide any specifics to people here in the neighborhood about the immediate future of what they're going to be seeing at the store? Is it closed for now, or what's the outlook here in the...
I can't speak to that. I don't know if anybody from the city can at this point speak to the future of the store or current condition. No, I'm not aware right now.
Is it currently closed now?
Apparently, I mean, it looks boarded up this morning, so that's going to be my assumption. But yeah, I'm not sure.
McKenna with PPTV. Any other suspects currently being investigated, or are we just focusing on this one arrest, the owner of the store?
Well, what's that? I was just going to say, it's an ongoing investigation at this time, so I'd hate to just close the book and say, this is the extent of it. In terms of named suspects, we don't have at this point, but this is really, and I think Acting Detective McDonald said it really well, these things don't happen in a vacuum within the police bureau. This is a holistic effort. It took a lot of resources from PPB to make this happen, and from multiple different precincts and divisions. And so all of our cases, we're constantly sharing information with one another to see if there's a nexus, other parts of the city, even regionally, et cetera. So, as it evolves, it may lead to more arrests. It may just be this, but then we're going to continue to focus on the area to try and restore some of that sense of safety that's well deserved.
Joel, you have another one?
Yeah, my question is, court documents suggest that Sharma said something to the effect of somebody was snitching to an officer or investigator. Given the violence that we've seen in the park, even recently, are you guys at all concerned about retaliation?
Well, we're always taking the questions regarding, potential retaliation for community or those that may have participated in this investigation. We're obviously always sensitive to that. There is always inherent risk in participating in these processes for people. We understand that. But we really work closely with our partners in the DA's office. There's a lot of very scripted laws that, really would come to bear on somebody who were to try and do any kind of witness tampering or any kind of interference in the investigation. And I know that we, and as well as DA Vasquez and his office, will be looking at that to see if there's any attempt to try and intimidate or interrupt or any kind of retribution that's just completely unacceptable. So I'm hopeful that, the way that this is going right now, early on, that we're not seeing that, and my hope would be that we not see anything in that regard.
Christina, a couple more questions.
Yeah, I'd asked earlier about sort of the attempts to build trust within the community and whether or not that led to some of these tips. It sounds like there may have been some intimidation going on by, members of whoever was doing these crimes. And so how did you overcome that? And maybe some members of the community want to speak to that as well?
Yeah, you've got some great representatives from Elliott neighborhood and other community leaders that would certainly love to have their perspective. We've talked regularly in the police bureau. One of our primary goals is transforming the dynamic between the police and the people we serve. And that doesn't happen just because you hope it happens. It happens because you go out and you engage and you make yourself available. And that's a two-way street. Oftentimes we point to the police, and appropriately so. We carry a huge amount of authority and responsibility in this conversation in our role in this city, but it's a two-way street. And the thing that I appreciate about many of the folks, and they've spoken, and others, is that they show up. And even if we're not in agreement, there's an opportunity to look for understanding. There's an opportunity to try and seek out options and solutions. And I think in the past, we've hit and missed in that regard. Sadly, that I think the events of particularly last July 19th, but really galvanized us in a way that opened up some doors and some conversations. And so multiple city partners, multiple community members, the police bureau, all being at the table, leads that information. When it comes to crime, solving crime, generally speaking, somebody knows something. Generally speaking, somebody knows something. And if we can have that level of trust and confidence in one another as well as in the system, we can be far more successful in not only making arrests but even preventing crime. And as long as I'm in this role, that's going to continue to be a passion of mine, that we able to have those relationships and those communication to be able to try and come to those solutions. Oh, sorry.
Chief Day or DA Vasquez, we learned that Sharma is currently out on bail. Any concern about a potential danger to the community here?
You know, speak to that.
Sure. You know, it's something that in the district attorney's office we're going to take very seriously. We'll always look at those. I'll say it's extremely rare that those come to pass, but it's something we monitor closely. We did ask for bail, in this case a very high amount of bail. It was posted, and so we will continue to closely monitor with our pretrial services and keep an eye on the case very closely as it goes through the system.
Yep, follow up, presumably for the DA. Another 8 charges related to possession, delivering, and manufacturing within 1,000 feet of the school, even closer, I'd say, were already dropped. Can you explain why?
I can. So the issue is, sadly, the law doesn't recognize preschools as a school for purposes of that statute. As much as I think that's ridiculous, and I would love to see that be charged, it is something where that's a state legislature issue, and I am certainly a huge proponent of that being changed, because I believe that this conduct, being so close to a school, being so close to a hospital, churches, is absolutely unacceptable. So from our perspective, we want to charge that. So.
It's also a kindergarten, so it is.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the statutory definition that it doesn't make, and so if we can, we will. Just so know that.
Gentleman here.
Question for Chief Day. You said that the investigation started in 2024, maybe 2023. Does that mean that OLCC never referred you to issues they knew about in 2022?
I'm not aware. I mean, we'd have to do some follow-up on that, Mike, in terms of information we did or did not have from OLCC in 2022, so I can't speak to that right now. But we can follow up with that, get your name, and if somebody wants to know the information we did or did not have and the actions we did or did not take in that time period, we can put that out. Thanks.
A number of collaborators at all? Like an approximate number of people that may have been involved in this ring?
Chris, do you know how many people, like, just roughly you've talked to that helped with the investigation?
No, I mean involved in the actual crimes.
Again, this is still under investigation. Unfortunately, I can't speak to that.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for coming, obviously media for sharing this message, community for being here as well. The support means a lot, and we continue onward. Thank you to our speakers, even the ones who couldn't speak out of an interest of time. I failed to mention Councilor Ryan, who had to leave. Thank you for his support, and enjoy the rest of this beautiful day and weekend. Thank you.